Good evening, viewers and listeners. We are live, and welcome to the Sports Illustrated NFL Draft Bible VIP Room Interview Series, Episode 2. I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson, and boy, do we have a treat for you today. I can tell you, this is definitely a big one for us, of course, coming off of the Emmanuel Acho VIP Series Room interview, coming into now. The NFL playoffs are in full swing, and the big game is right around the corner. Hall of Fame legend, the playmaker himself, Michael Irvin, is joining us today to chat about the status of the NFL season and his thoughts on what's to come in the weeks ahead. Thank you, and I can tell you, he's going to making it into a force today. I mean, Michael Irvin, of course, being a three-time Super Bowl winner, one of the original triplets for those Dallas Cowboys, in their years in the 90s. Also, Hall of Famer, Michael Irvin, who a lot of people feel like he's the best receiver in Cowboy history. And, I kind of have something that I'll have to admit to, when he comes on air. But we're just excited to have Michael with us today. Of course, he will be here through Varilux, and we'll speak about that as well. But I can tell you, this is definitely a treat to have Michael with us today. And this interview VIP Room Series is definitely something that we're excited to continue to do, to bring you viewers and listeners as well. I know that, with everything going on, the big game is coming up. And with the Super Bowl definitely up in the air. Who knows who's going to win? Of course, with the addition of extra playoff games, I really like what they did with that. When we're talking about all of the different teams that possibly wouldn't have been in the playoffs that made it this year. And the NFL, I can tell you, they are on fire. They continue to crush the ratings and to continue to be the number one sport in the United States of America. And it's a sport that I love, and I've always aspired to watch and to cover. But I can tell you, I'm definitely excited to have Mr. Irvin in and to have this interview and to ask him some questions. I got some really good questions to ask him as well. But if he's available, we can bring him in. Sam, I know Sammy in the back is doing a great job also. I'm ready. Good afternoon, viewers and listeners. We are live and welcome to the Sports Illustrated NFL Draft Bible VIP Room Interview Series, Episode 2. I am Big Law, your host, Lawrence Johnson, and we have a special treat for you today. And I can tell you, this is going to be a real big one. And I can tell you, we're going to have a great time with this. And the NFL playoffs are in full swing, and the big game is right around the corner. Of course, we have a Hall of Fame legend, Mr. Playmaker himself, Mr. Michael Irvin, joining us today. Oh, my goodness, man. There he is. Oh, boy. Hey, Mr. Michael Irvin. How are you doing today, Mike?
Man, I'm doing well, man. I love this Big Law VIP room that you the Big Law's VIP room that you got me sitting in, man. Everything's going well. Would be better if my Dallas Cowboys had take care of that business the other day and won that game. And we're getting ready now to be going to Tampa. That would have been the highest rated game, I guarantee you, in the last 10 years. But that's just a dream now. It's not going to happen.
Well, we have some things that we're going to talk about with them as well, because, here, I got to admit, I'm here in Hampton Roads, right, which is typically Washington country. But I have to tell you, if I was a Cowboy fan, you would be my favorite Cowboy of all time. And let me tell you why. This is Ric Flair country. Your bravado, okay? You have the bravado that exudes like Ric Flair does, and it's infectious. Yes. We love the bravado out here, and you have a huge fan base out here. And I can tell you, I really appreciate what you do and how you present yourself and the flair you bring to the game, Mike.
I appreciate that, and mentioning my great friend Ric Flair. And mentioning my name with his name is because I love him. He's a great dude, man. He's a great dude. He's a funny dude, man. We had him last year at the Super Bowl, and he was doing the charades with us and trying to, we're having little games at the Super Bowl. And he got down on his knees and put it in. And I guess that's a Hail Mary. And we 1-1. We're jumping around, and I go to shake his hand. He's like, hey, help me up, though. I had to pull up. I said, right in the middle of all that chaos, he's like, hey, Michael, help me up. I mean, I just love him, man. Just a great dude. So that's a high compliment to be anywhere near Ric Flair. That's a great friend of mine.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, there's so much knowledge, that you've bestowed on a lot of the fan base and just fans in general, regardless of who you root for. And I just appreciate you joining us today. Got some questions for you, man, and I'm going to jump right in. I got to talk to you about the U, man. Is the U back? What are we doing here? I mean, is the U back?
Man, we've been dropping that for so long, man. Let me tell you what I thought about this year. And I thought about the beginning of the year when I was at that game during the coin toss for the Alabama game. And I said, man, we always talk about, hey, you back, is you back. Do we know what we're talking about back to? When we were playing back and we were trying to get back to those days in the 80s, we won 58 straight home games. 58 straight home games. That's still a record standing right now today with that run that Alabama has had over the last few years. You would think that Alabama had 58 straight home victories, you know what I mean, with that juggernaut they've had the last decade or so, would have gotten that record. But they haven't. So we're asking Miami now to get back to that. That's a hard place to get back to. I just need Miami right now with my new head coach, Cristobal. Let's just get this ACC. Let's take one bite of this apple at a time. Let's take the ACC bite, and then we'll start worrying about the national polls and then the CF, the college football playoffs and a national championship. Let's crawl, walk, jog, run, sprint. Let's take it the right way.
What'd you say, Mike? Sprint, and you say you catching BBs in the dark, right? You know what you said?
Yeah, you're right. You're so funny. Well, I said that when I first got drafted in Dallas. I said, listen, I said these great hands right here, they catch anything. They catch a BB in the dark. somebody turn out the light and shoot a BB gun. And then I went to my first training camp and I dropped everything. I mean, everything. And
Wow.
dude, I was looking at my hands, like, what's going on here? After I had told these people I catch a BB in the dark, I can't catch a football in daylight? What is going on? I went to the doctor to get my eyes checked, my hands checked, everything. It was just, I had got a little shattered confidence and I had to regain it. So every time I hear that old quote, I think about what came after it. We drop it all in passes.
And this is a question from the fans. Who's the greatest U player in your opinion of all time?
Wait. Well, what kind of question is that to ask me? You know, and you got to understand, when you put greatest, you're talking about more than just a singular thing. It's not just how many passes you call, how many touchdowns. What contributions did you make to that whole university? And I will say I'm Captain Swag of the swag. I brought it in. It is where it comes from. So absolutely, I will dub myself the greatest you player of all time. I was with Ray, Ed, me, Ray, Ed, Reed, all of us were together. And we would have Clint Portis, Adrian James. We were having that discussion. Ed was like, they already voted. It was me. I said, Ed, no, they didn't. Don't tell that. If we did 10 votes, it may come back 10 different things, but at least 3 or 4 will be mine. And that means I am the greatest Hurricane player of all time. So I just love that argument. We can have it over we always have it whenever we get some adult beverages when we together, we always have that discussion.
That's that signature bravado we love to hear from you, Mike. We love it, man. So let's talk about the NFL, the big game. So what are some highlights for the season so far that you've liked?
And the greatest highlight I've had was because football is about hope and possibilities. The greatest thing I thought happened this year was we were going into week 15 and 16, and we still didn't have those X and Y's by teams that had clinched playoffs and home field. That means every team still had a chance, man. It was insane. We went all the way down to and then the way the NFL set up all those division games, it made the last little bit of the NFL season as good as the early part of the season. To see that game between the Raiders and the Chargers, if they tied, they both go to the playoffs. And then they do tie and go into overtime. That's last drop good. That's last drop good. It was good in the beginning of the season, and it ended good at the end of the season. We had a great season, and now we're going to playoffs. Any one of these teams in the playoffs right now can win the Super Bowl. That means it just makes it all so great. This has been an incredible year in football.
Of course, being that this is more of a passing league, I got to ask you, what player reminds you the most of yourself in your play, your physical? Like I said, being from Hampton Roads, seeing you beat my man Darryl Green to death. So I want to know what player is as physical as you were today, as you were.
Oh man, that's interesting. Because physicality from the wide receiver position, I tried to introduce that physicality when I came in the league. When I first got in the league, I was having those issues at training camp, dropping balls, and I remember I was trying to go. I got up on the line of scrimmage, try to run around Everson Walls. Mm-hmm. Everson acted like he was backing up, then came back and he jammed me, and I fell to my knees. Kevin Martin said to me, he said, "Man, what are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm going around. I'm trying to get off the release." He said, "Man, if I was your side, I'd run right through them. I'll just run right through them." I was like, you know what? You're right. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I started doing. So quarterbacks and DBs, they like to come up to you and try to make you nervous. The reality is, after I looked at that and started studying, I said, I got the advantage. The laws of inertia said a moving object hitting a still object should move the still object given the same weight inside. I'm bigger than most of these guys. And why am I trying to run around them? I should run right through them. So I take my 212, 15 pounds, and I go through half of that man. Right side, left side. So if he's 212, I'm really running through, 106 pounds. Your right shoulder or your left shoulder, and I'm running through you. And that's what I always said. I will attack a man's weakness if I want to beat him. I will attack his strength when I want to break him. And I get a physical cornerback, he stays in front of me, I run right through him and I break him, especially if I have to see you twice a year, if you're in my division. It was nothing like it. I don't know any receiver that plays that physical right now at the line of scrimmage. I don't even know if they'll do it. I used to come across people here and slap them head. I would write a check, $5,000 on Monday, send it to the office. We played a game Sunday. They wrote a check. They wrote a note to me on that following Monday saying, you've been fined $5,000 for slapping a man across his head at the line of scrimmage. I said, check your desk. It should be there because I planned on doing that. You know what I mean? I sent in the check early because I was going to send a message to that joker to back his butt up, let me catch this ball so I can feed my family. That's what they did.
That's right, man. I can tell you, this is awesome, Mike. So I got some other questions. So
Allen Robinson would be the one guy I give you that I think is most likely on a football field. He's not as physical coming off the line of scrimmage, but he's a hell of a player, and he makes plays no matter what the quarterback is, who the quarterback is.
That's the one that I had in mind. You know, that was the closest. You know, and physically.
That's my dude.
That's right. So with you still have dozens of the Cowboys records. Did you think they would stand as long as they have, especially with all the talented wide receivers that have come after you? You know, who do you feel could possibly break your records that is on the roster?
Man, there are a lot of guys out there can break those records, man. And you know, we're throwing the ball more. We just gave him another game to get it. Cooper Kupp got at least 1,100 yards receiving in a game. That's one of the records I had. You know what I mean? Cooper Kupp he had 11 now. So there's so many. But I'll tell you the one that my great grandsons and daughters will still be reading about is I scored 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, 2 offensive touchdowns in the Super Bowl, 18 seconds apart. Nobody will ever break that. Nobody will ever score 2 offensive touchdowns in a Super Bowl, 18 seconds apart. That one, Michael Irvin, that name should be written in that stone forever.
So I guess we're in overtime right now. Is there something you want to say with the partnership with Varilux that you have currently?
Absolutely, man. There's nothing greater than that partnership. I used to be able to see the spots on a football when Troy Aikman threw me the football. But then as I got older, around 40, I woke up and all I saw was spots on the paper. I couldn't make out the letters or anything. I went to my doctor. My doctor told me there's presbyopia. That's the name that they have for the farsightedness that we go through around age 40. Go see your doctor if you are having these eye issues. Ask your doctor about the Varilux, the #1 recommended progressive lens. And they're so great because they have seamless transition. When I'm looking at the camera, working on the camera, I can look down and pick up these little words, little letters, or my little stats, and look back up and give it to the folks. It's a seamless transition, and that's what makes them so great. They changed my world and certainly made me much better at what I do professionally on my job. If you want to know more about it, you can go to EsselerUSA.com. EsselerUSA.com. Ask your doctor about the #1 progressive lens out there, Varilux.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Michael and Varilux. And I can't wait to speak to you again. We got to try this again, man. We still got some things to talk about. Got some more questions to ask you. But thank you for your time. And this has been the VIP Room Series with Big Law and Michael Irvin.